We hope to have the Pro Football Doc with us in just a matter of moments to get you set for Super Bowl week in Super Bowl 59. Practice reports from the teams as they got ready in their own home destinations this past week, and now they've made the trip out to New Orleans. Of course, Joe, a lot of focus will be on Philadelphia. KC relatively healthy, at least the guys that have been there for the last month and a half, 2 months or so. Of course, the Eagles quarterback in Jalen Hurts. How healthy is he going to be? What is the status of that left knee that he injured in the divisional round against the Rams? The offensive line concerns. Cam Jurgens, the center, dealing with the back issues leading up to the NFC Championship. And Landon Dickerson, the outstanding all-pro guard who had to fill in and start at the center spot for that NFC title game against the Commanders, who injured his knee in the opening half. That, Joe, seems to be the main concern in terms of the most significant players entering Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, and I'm sure the doc will tell us. I mean, at this point in the season, Ben, there ain't nobody 100% anyway. So it really is a matter of just, okay, what's the ceiling here? And one of the things I'm interested in is, how many of these guys are legit? What's the reality of them playing a full game? How bad are these injuries? And they are easily re-aggravated. And that's a concern as well, especially with the guys in the trenches.
Enough of our speculation. It's time for Pro Football Doc, Dr. DavidChao, to join us here to get you ready for Super Bowl 59. Dr. Chao, as always, thank you for joining us on the first day of what is now officially Super Bowl week.
Yeah, I'm about to get on a plane and head to New Orleans.
Love it. Safe travels to you. We look forward to hearing your work from the Big Easy. And, Doc, one of the great things about what you and your team do at Sports Injury Central and what you can see at SICScore.com, that's SICScore.com, is the individual SIC score for each and every player. You hear it normally in sports media coverage. Well, he's a little bit banged up. We hope he's 85, 90%. You give that SIC score out of 100. And as we get ready for Super Bowl 59, what is the SIC score currently for the Eagles quarterback and Jalen Hurts?
Well, Jalen Hurts obviously played pretty well, but his SIC score is still nowhere in the 90s. I think he's in the high 80s at this point in time, 87 in terms of his ability to run. Throw is not an issue. It's the left knee. And, he ran the ball a bunch of times in the conference championship, but he certainly was not 100%. And his cutting motions, et cetera, are still in question.
Well, Doc, what about the guys blocking for him and protecting him there? Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, which the back thing seemed to come out of nowhere. What do we do with the offensive linemen? How healthy are they right now?
Well, that's one of the bigger issues for the Super Bowl. Typically, by the time we get to the Super Bowl, Sports Injury Central has been pretty hot in predicting the winning teams against the spread, and we factor in injuries. So if the more injured teams are losing on the way through the playoffs and into the Super Bowl, obviously you end up with healthier teams. A little bit of an anomaly this year with the Eagles, and you're pointing out the offensive line here. Cam Jurgens back. He did play in the second half and played well. He's got 2 weeks. There's certainly some great healing powers of the Super Bowl, especially with the extra week. Everyone wants to play, but you're right. How effective is the question? But the bigger worry is Landon Dickerson. We studied all the film from the conference championship game, including the all-22 tape, and it looks like he struggles with his left knee from the get, and it gets worse later in the first quarter and into the second, puts a brace on, and then exits the game. He's the biggest concern for the Eagles right now for their offensive line. And obviously that would mean Tyler Skeen would have to play, and it would force Cam Jurgens into action, even though he might not be 100% on his back.
Ideally for the Eagles, Jurgens gets the start at the center spot, and Landon Dickerson shifts back to where he always is in that guard position. Let's talk about one of the leaders of this Eagles franchise, Dr. Chao, who has been with the Birds the entirety of his career, now going on a decade and a half, Brandon Graham, who last played at the end of November, torn triceps. We thought he was probably out for the remainder of this season, as you told us last week. more than likely they were going to open up his practice window. No harm in doing so. He still remains on injured reserve. An emotional leader. Great to have him out there to get the Philadelphia Eagles ready for Super Bowl 59. But Dr. Chao, is there a realistic chance that Brandon Graham plays come Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, I'm quite sure he'll be there on the sidelines, but playing seems to be a stretch. I think the only way that he plays is if they really have the extra roster room and he's a part-time usage. Look, with the triceps, he's functional in everyday life, but can you really hold a 320-pound lineman or two off of you? Can you do that forceful of a push-up with someone on your back with the triceps? And that's what he needs to do to hold off blocks. And he's got a high rate of re-rupture. I get he won't care about that because if he needs surgery again, who cares? This is likely his final game. It's the Super Bowl. But it just seems unlikely that he could be effective given what he needs to do.
And what about Saquon's, second in command there in Kenneth Gainwell? Will he be available and how effective?
Well, besides second in command, Saquon with the calf issue, everyone's seen him with the Theragun, et cetera. He's obviously going to play through, and we hope it was just the score of the game where his utilization dipped in the second half. But Gainwell's got a concussion. 95% of people with concussions clear by 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks before the big game. And I don't have a doubt that he will clear because also, and I'm not saying he would do this and jeopardize his own health, but a lot of testing for concussions is fairly subjective. Nobody wants to miss the Super Bowl, so I would have to think he will be available.
Yes, we would think that he is. Really only injury designation for the Chiefs. Sky Moore, who is doubtful. He last played in mid-October. Dr. Chao, we appreciate the time on this Monday. Safe travels to New Orleans and have a great week there on Radio Row, getting ready for the big game this upcoming Sunday.